There's no doubt in anyone's mind that the pricing of video games has changed dramatically since 2006, rather since ever. So as of right now, video games are currently making the most amount of money comparatively to movies. So there's a big reason as to why video gamers are being targeted for those price increases. Gamers are simply spending more money than any other segment of entertainment. Now, an example could be simply purchasing a new video game is a lot more expensive than what it used to. As of right now, for example, the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero costs $70 to purchase right now. It is so expensive, and so many people are saving up simply to buy this game. That's just how expensive video games have come, to the point that you now have to save to purchase a video game at the end of the month. Now, that's the conversation about purchasing a whole video game. On the other hand, what about microtransactions? Here, microtransactions are something that we commonly see. This is, for example, on Clash of Clans. Clash of Clans has always had microtransaction, and it was always a free game. We have to think about microtransaction as something that is helping you improve and get further in the game faster than other players. But in this case, this is a pay-to-win strategy rather than the purchase of a cosmetic. If you've had your ear to the ground, you might have heard about Tekken 8 charging players $5 for a map on one of their DLCs. Now, this is a huge issue. The reason for that is that it's harder to be competitive if you do not have access to every single stage on Tekken 8. So it requires a lot of players that want to stay competitive to have to purchase that $5 map. The Tekken players were able to resolve this for themselves. At least they ended up review bombing Tekken, and it honestly helped them out a lot, as they were able to reverse the decisions that Tekken 8 made. The question is, how are they tricking us to purchasing these microtransactions? Let's think about Genshin Impact. Sells you on the idea of purchasing their microtransactions by selling you a monthly pass, which costs you about $5. Once you've invested in those $5, you now feel more comfortable into purchasing anything else. These microtransactions are designed so that, here's a little bit more, here's a little bit more. So it becomes more comfortable for you to be able to purchase more moving forward. Now, how much are companies actually making? For example, Fortnite skins gross $50 million for Epic. This is just one skin line, by the way. We're just talking about their NFL skin line. They made a buttload of money. It is an insane amount of money. Epic Games is mostly making their money from their games. Now, obviously, what game do you think is their most popular game? Fortnite. So Fortnite is making a ton of money for Epic Games. Unreal Engine is not making them that anywhere close to how much money they're making. For reference, how much is Epic Games really making comparatively to other companies? Ubisoft, by comparison, is only making $2 billion overall on their whole thing. Epic Games is making nearly $6 billion from 2018 to 2019 on simply how much Fortnite's microtransactions are selling. It is insane. It is a massive amount. The Fortnite revenue is so popular on online video games that it has generated billions in revenue since 2018. It earned $5.8 billion in 2021, $5.1 billion in 2020, $3.7 billion in 2019, and $5.4 billion in 2018. It's making more. Yes, COVID happened, but it is insane how much money Fortnite has made on these microtransactions. They are making so much money, and all they are selling is skins. It's a free game. Do not forget that so many games that we used to grow up on required you to purchase them. You had to pay $20. You had to invest into the idea of enjoying that game. Now we're getting a lot of free games that sell you on the idea of enjoying the game for so many hours that you're going to buy a microtransaction on that game, and it is leading to them making so much more money than if they had simply sold you one game. If they had simply sold us Fortnite, they would not have made as much money. A lot of companies are seeing this, and they're acknowledging this. League of Legends is getting a $250 arcane skin, and it's not going down well. No one's a fan of having to pay $250 for a skin, but people will buy it. Wells exist. Well being defined as anyone that's going to purchase a massive skin when they don't need it. You don't need these skins. They're not pay to wins. This is simply talking about a cosmetic. Now, let's talk about the Garen skins. For example, on League of Legends, this is an 1820 skin. This is about $14, right? This skin was released 6 years ago. As mentioned here, it's released 6 years ago. 2 months ago, rather. We have a skin that is literally using the same, nearly the exact same model, nearly the exact same animations and in a different color with a slight tweak on animations. This skin costs $200. The amount that it is costing for skins or for microtransaction is slowly increasing. Not only is it in Tekken 8, not only is it in gacha games, it's also in Riot games. You know, everybody is slowly increasing their pricing on all of their games. Question is, are we doomed? And the reality is that we're not. Helldivers, for example, was able to sell about 5 million to 11 million copies. That is insane. That is insane. And that's not it. Baldur's Gate was able to sell between 7 million to 13 million copies. That's crazy. It really is crazy. Like, that's an insane amount of copies sold. And something that you have to pay attention to and be aware of is that Baldur's Gate did not have someone that was publishing. They were self-published themselves, meaning that they do not have someone that is on top of them telling them what they should be doing. And then let's not forget, Palworld sold about 16 million to 20 million copies. Let's take an estimate. This is both good, but it's also not really an example and reasoning for that. These three games are indie developed and they prove that you do not need a lot of microtransactions to make a massive amount of money from publishing game. On the other hand, Helldivers was published by Sony, so they did have those funds, but there's not a massive amount of microtransactions such as when you see like on EA and whatnot. There is still the issue that indie games have to charge you upfront. There's not a lot of free-to-play games that we're seeing, and the reason for that is that it's just a lot harder for these indie developers to prove themselves long enough with you as a customer for you to purchase a microtransaction. Now, we have to consider that not everybody's a winner. For example, Omega Strikers that had a peak of 19,000 is practically dead. The developers have kind of just let it fall apart. So do be aware that not every game is being successful right now. Not every indie dev is succeeding. And I think that's very important and something that I think a lot of us tend to forget. There's a ton of indie devs who are releasing these massive products and failing. And they're not the only one. Stormgate has 161 players playing it right now. 161 players. This is being made by Blizzard devs, and it is failing. Free-to-play games by indie devs are not as successful, and they're a lot riskier. As of right now, that is what we have to accept. They are riskier, but that doesn't mean that they can be successful. That is no way saying that, oh, no indie dev should ever release a game without any microtransactions, because what's the point? But we have to understand, indie devs are risking it all. They really are. When you don't have a publisher, no one's paying your bills. The game has to succeed on release or the whole developing team is screwed. And we're seeing that right now on Stormgate. Yes, they want to invest the years. Yes, they want to invest the time, but do they have that time? And that right now is a big concern. If you don't have a big publisher behind you to try to push for that extension or for that time, you sometimes aren't sure if these indie devs are going to manage to crawl themselves back up. So the question is simple. Where do we go from here? Microtransactions are here to stay. Games becoming more expensive for you to even be able to play them, such as the new Dragon Ball costing $70, is probably going to keep going up, guys. Inflation is not limited to your food. Inflation is indeed going to be applied to video games. And you're seeing it on those League of Legends skins. You're seeing it in Fortnite, I'm sure. You'll see it in other games. You really will. And it'll slowly be creeping forward. But it also has to do with how old the game is that you're playing. If the game that you're playing is becoming older and they're not getting a lot of new players, expect to be charged more. If the game is still growing, the prices can stay low. That's just how economics works, and that's just the situation that a lot of these devs are being put into, where they have to keep bringing in more money and bringing in more revenue, but it's not always possible. If you enjoyed this conversation, if you're curious as to where business will keep going in the gaming industry, like, subscribe, and I'll be here to talk more about it later. Bye.